And, yeah, and are live. Right now, we are recording. We are not live. This is a recording. Thank you very much for coming sa pista ng katutubong Pilipino. Bagong sigla, Indigenous Healing Wisdom for Modern Wellness. So, sa araw na ito, ay ito yung ikalawang taon natin ng pag-celebrate ng Pista ng Katutubong Gamotang Pilipino. Ito ay bunsod sa kautosang pambansa sinagawa ng President Gloria Pagal Arroyo noong mga nakaraang taon, 2009 yata. So buwan-buwan sa tuwing buwan ng November, ating kinikilala at pinagdiriwang ang Pista ng Katutubong Gamotang Pilipino. Sa taong ito, kung last year is nagbigay tayo ng fundamentals of hilot practices, no? At pinakita natin kung ano ba yung mga ginagawa ng hilot. Sa taong ito ay ating pagbibigyan diin yung kahalagahan ng hilot o karunungang hilot mula throughout the history. So magsisimula ako ng presentation. Sana ay inyong ma-appreciate. No? So punta tayo dito. So sabi dito, hilot as Philippine indigenous medicine can be traced back during the time when the ancestors of the modern human butchered a rhinoceros in the present day Kalinga, which is in northern province, no? Dated 709,000 years ago, or 706,975 BCE before Common Era, which is within the Pleistocene epoch of the Quaternary period. So, yung Pleistocene epoch, ito yung panahon ng mga yelo, during the Ice Age. So here, it is through the wisdom of our ancestors, they have survived the Ice Age, that they hunt rhinoceros for food and medicine such as its horn, which is primarily to treat ailments such as fever, rheumatism, cold, and poison detection. So how, paano naging hilot to? So dito nakikita natin na ang hilot, teka lang, someone wants to join this call. Je, let us admit Je. Welcome Je. Igay, kamusta na? So kasi simula lang natin, no? So itutuloy ko lang ang ating presentation. So paano yung paghahunt ng food ay naging bahagi ng panghihilot, no? Kasi ang hilot is about caring. Ito ay about survival, no? Ito ay paano mabuhay. At ang pagkain, ito ay isang form ng survival noong unang panahon. Actually, 706,975 BCE, ang buong paligid ay napapalibutan ng yelo. Kaya makikita natin yung probinsya ng Kalinga, no? Nasa mataasing lugar at malamig. Kaya napakamahalaga sa kanila na magkaroon sila ng pamamaraan na mapainit nila ang kanilang sarili, or else sila ay mamamatay sa lamig, no? Or they will die of being cold. So let us continue our presentation. So here, survival and early healing practices. The butchering of rhinoceros in Kalinga around 709,000 years ago shows that early humans in the Philippines had the capacity to use tools and process animal for food, and possibly for medicinal purposes. This survival behavior laid the foundation for ancestral wisdom in understanding the body, nature, and healing, or elements of healing and other indigenous practices. So here, the role of Babaylan and the indigenous healer. In pre-colonial times, spiritual leaders known as the Babaylan were central to healing. They used herbal medicine, rituals, and spiritual guidance to treat both physical and emotional ailments. These practices were rooted in indigenous system involving Anito, or ancestral spirit, and Diwata, or the nature deities, which continued in the Filipino tradition. The continuity of indigenous wisdom. The Papailan tradition preserved and passed down healing knowledge through generations. This includes hilot, herbalism, and rituals that align with the natural and spiritual world. Even in modern times, these traditions are being revived and integrated into holistic wellness and spiritual education, such as in our work with Templong Anituhan and the Hilot Academy of Pinapailan. So after this, no, ito ay prehistorical. Now we enter the modern days, which is the Srivijaya period. dated 900 to 1330 CE. No? So Hilot through the ages, a healing tradition across Philippine historical areas. So Hilot was already practiced in the Philippines before the arrival and the influence of Sipigay Empire, like what we have learned na during the time of the rhinoceros, no, Pleistocene period, na 709,000 years ago. Nung pumasok ang mga bagong siglo, panahon, during the Srivijaya period, it is said that Hilot is still being practiced, which flourished from 17th to 13th century CE. Historical and cultural evidence suggests that Hilot is indigenous to the archipelago, deeply pre-rooted, deeply rooted in pre-Hindu, pre-Islamic, and pre-colonial Filipino society. So, paano nangyari yun? So, tingnan natin. So, healing through the ages, a healing tradition across the Philippine historical areas. So, key insights natin dito, ancient indigenous practice. Healing is considered one of the oldest healing traditions in the Philippines. It predates foreign influences and was practiced by Babaylan, Manghihilot, and Albalario, spiritual healers, and herbalists who serve as the community health providers. Uh, at papasukin muna natin para hindi ako ano. Erlene. Ma'am Erlene Palunga, welcome, welcome, welcome. So let me continue. Ma'am Erlene, Ma'am Ni, kumusta po kayo? So papatuloy lang po tayo, no? So dito, Hilot is considered one as the oldest healing tradition in the Philippines. It predates foreign influences and was practiced by Babaylan, Manghilot, and Albulario. Spiritual healers and herbalists who serve as the community's health provider. These practitioners use massage, herbal medicine, and spiritual rituals to treat physical and emotional ailments. So, para lang sa kapakanan ni Ma'am Nick, no? Pinakita natin, ipapakita ko sa inyo na nagsimula ang Hilot even before Srivijaya Empire. So nagsimula ito noong 6,975 BCE, no? Sa pamagitan ng, ito yung panahon ng Homo lucenensis, sa pamagitan ng pag-butcher ng rhinoceros. Although magagalit ang mga vegan sa ngayon kasi bawal nga ang magkatay. Pero noong unang panahon, nagkatay sila and they use that for survival and for their medicines. So as we continue, shamanic and animistic group. The origins of helots are shamanic, tied to animistic belief, where illness was seen as disruption in the balance between body, spirit, and nature. Healing involved rituals, oration, prayers, and offerings, often invoking spirit or elemental beings like Encanto and Tonito. This worldview was already present in the Philippines long before Indianized kingdom like Srivijaya influenced in Southeast Asia. Next slide. Transmission through oral tradition. Hilot knowledge was passed down orally and through apprenticeship, not through written text. This method of transmission ensured survival across generations, even before Philippines had contact with Indianized empires or colonial powers. So ito is more method of training, no? Yung training methodology ng Hilot ng unang panahon. So it passed orally. So talagang parang kung sa modern method ng training methodology, ito yung shadowing and mentorship. Kumbaga, isang mag-aaral ay nagmamasid maigi sa mga ginagawa ng mga Hilot dahil ang karunungan ng Hilot ay pinapasa sa pamagitan ng salita or apprenticeship, not through written text. Tulad na ngayon, maraming mga school ngayon ang sinasagawa na itatayo patungkol sa Hilot. Kaya ang Hilot Academy ay sinisikap din natin na yung pamamaraan ng pagtuturo natin ay oral tradition. Kumbaga, talagang you watch and see. Makinig kayo, magsulat kayo. No? Pero, yun nga, nagawa natin is nakapagsulat tayo ng libro, so mas easy para sa lahat na makuha ang karunungan. So, pangatlo, third slide, sabi the role of Babaylan. The Babaylan of the woman were central figures in pre-Srivijaya Filipino society. They were healers, spiritual leaders, and midwives, and Hilot was part of their healing repertoire. Their practices were deeply embedded in the community's spiritual and physical well-being. So ito is during the Srivijaya and Primal Jampahit Empire. In summary, Hilot is a native Filipino healing system that existed independently before the arrival of Srivijaya and other external influences. It reflects the indigenous cosmology and health philosophy of early Filipinos, making it a powerful symbol of cultural unity and ancestral wisdom. So after ng Srivijaya ay ano na susunod? Tingnan natin sa ating slide. Ito ay pre-Islamic Filipino Society from 900 CE, Common Era to 1380 Common Era. So ito yung panahon na nakita yung Laguna Copper Plate inscription sa Laguna. No? So dito, Hilot existed and played a vital role in Filipino communities during the pre-Islamic period. Long before the arrival of Islam, the southern Philippines and Spanish colonization in the 16th century. So yung indigenous origin, Hilot is an ancient healing art rooted in animistic and shamanic tradition of early Filipino society. It was practiced by Manghihilot, Albulario, and Maki in the Cordillera, who were considered spiritual healers and community health providers. These practitioners used massage, herbal medicine, bone setting, and spiritual rituals to treat illness and maintain wellness. So dito, parang according to history, no, later nasa pinakahuli ng slide yung mga references natin dito. Pinakikita, it might be the reason why yung modern tradition natin or modern culture reject yung kasi nga rooted siya ng animistic shamanic tradition. Pero dito rin natin makikita yung basis ng mga bone setter na bahagi siya talaga ng hilot. No, hindi siya chiropractic or osteopathy and everything. Although yun din ang nararamdaman natin problema na nakakausap natin ibang mga bone setters na ayaw silang tagapi ng pita. Pero kasi ang problema din naman sa regulation ng PITAC at saka ng TESDA ay hindi included ang practice of bone setting. Pero maaaring magamit natin ito as an evidence to integrate the practice of bone setting into the practice of bilateral practices. So number 2, holistic healing philosophy. The pre-Islamic Filipino believed in the interconnectedness of body, spirit, and nature. Healing was not just physical therapy, it was a spiritual practice that addressed imbalances in energy, often attributed to elemental forces or nature spirit or kanto. Healing involved prayers, incantations, fumigation, and herbal medicine, reflecting cosmology where health was harmony with the environment. So dito, parang meron kasi nagbigay ng PITAC resolution 2024 last year, series of 2024-001, na kung saan ay pinakita nila yung mga nagpa-accredit sa PITAC. At merong dalawang individual na hindi nabigyan o hindi nabigyan ng certification ng PITAC because of spiritual practice ng nila. So dito, kung patuloy na tatanggalin o tatanggihan ng PITAC na ang spiritual practices ng hilot, parang binabaliwala din nila yung kasaysayan natin na nakalagay sa kasaysayan na talaga ang hilot ay may spiritual practices. Ngayon, ang challenge sa PITAC ay kung paano nila ma-unify yung spiritual practice into modern practice. Kasi ang traditional Chinese medicine ay naisagawa nila yon. Kasi meron silang concept of Qi sa DCM, pero ang Feng Shui, which is spiritual practice, ay may concept din ng Qi. No? So dito ay dapat mapag-aralan nila at sana makita din nila, makita ng PITAC kung paano natin itinuturo yung spirituality ng hilot sa mga estudyante na kung saan ang mga estudyante natin sa California, sa Hawaii, at sa iba't ibang bahagi pa ng mundo ay na-appreciate nila yung spirituality na pinakikita ng hilot na bilateral practices. No? So number 3, role in community life. Hilot was central to birth, illness, and death rituals. Traditional midwives, also called hilot, assisted in childbirth, while Manghilot treated injuries, fevers, and spiritual afflictions. Their role was respected and essential, especially in tribal and barangay setting where no formal medical system existed. So dito, pre-Islamic nung mga panahon, ay mayroon pa tayong role. Binibigyan pa tayo ng pagpapahalaga, lalo na sa pagpapaanak, no? As traditional pagkatanda. Pero nawala ito nung ang Department of Health ay nagtalaga ng memorandum circular directing Department of Interior and Local Government, LGU, na ipagbawal ang hilot pagpapaanak para mabigyang daan ang pagtatayo ng mga birthing centers or lying clinics na accredited ng Department of Health. No? So, tuloy lang po natin. Makikita rin natin yan sa kasaysayan sa presentation. So, number 4, transmission through oral tradition. Knowledge of it was passed down orally and through apprenticeship. Tulad ng muna nabanggit natin na ang hilot ay ang karunungang hilot ay pinapasa orally. No? This ensures its survival across generations, even as external influences like Hinduism, Buddhism, and later Islam began to shape regional beliefs. Number 5, elemental and cosmological framework. According to traditional Hindu philosophy, the human body is a microcosm of the universe, composed of fire, water, air, and earth. Illness was seen as an imbalance of these elements, and healing involved restoring harmony through touch, herbs, and spiritual guidance. So kasi, ang gamutan talaga ng hilot ay hindi lamang sa pagmamasahe o paghipo-hipo lang, no? Gumagamit din tayo ng herb at saka yung spiritual guidance. Kumbaga, ito yung pagtalima sa kung ano man yung karunungan. Kumbaga, kung ikaw ay nagpa-doktor, ang doktor ay magbibigay sa'yo ng payo, hindi lang gamot, no? Ibigyan ka ng mga payo na kung saan ay susundin para manumbalik ang iyong kaginawaan sa buhay. Let us see now yung panahon ng Islam. In the era of Islamization, continuity of indigenous tradition, dated 1380 CE to 1521. Yung 1521, ito yung bago ay pagdating ng Kastila. Ito, no? So, hilot continued to play a vital role in Filipino healthcare even during the Islamization of the Philippines, particularly in Mindanao and part of Sulu Archipelago where Islamic influence became strong starting around the 13th century. Nakay paper naman, Peng and Tube. Hindi ko mautusan si Jay kasi malayo din. Tapos kidding, break lang muna. So tuloy natin, no? So tuloy natin. Slide. So key point of hilot during the Islamization period. 1, persistence of indigenous healing tradition. Even as Islam introduced new religious and cultural practices, indigenous healing systems like hilot remain deeply embedded in the daily lives of many Filipinos. The manghihilot continue to serve as community healers, especially in rural and tribal areas where Islamic medical practices were not fully institutionalized. Number 2, syncretism with Islamic belief. In some communities, hilot practices were syncretized with Islamic spirituality. For example, prayers and rituals used in healing may have incorporated Islamic invocation or Quranic verses while still retain the core techniques of massage, herbal medicine, and energy balancing. This blending allows hilot to adapt and survive within Muslim majority areas. Especially right now, no, ang ating pag-aaral sa Temple of Anton ay nakafocus kay Tuhan o sa mga katutubong pananampalataya ng mga Maranao na ang kanilang manggagamot ay tinatawag na parang pamumulong. Kalimutan ko ang title. Salamat na kayo for the water. So, nagpupulong. So, gumagamit sila ng mga Islamic herbs and then herbs at saka massage na rin. Siyempre, apply ng herbs topically sa katawan ay gumagamit ng pamamaraan ng hilot. No? Yan yung syncretic belief nila ng mga Muslim Maranao. Inom muna ako. Okay, sarap. So, key point on hilot during the Islamization period. 1, 3 is role of women and midwives. Traditional midwives also called hilot or pagdating naman sa mga Tituray tribe, yung midwife nila ay tinatawag na panday, no? Remain essential in maternal and infant care. Even in Islamic communities, while Islamic teachings emphasize modesty and gender roles, women healers were still respected for their knowledge and caregiving, especially in childbirth and postpartum healing. Number 4, ito na naman, oral transmission and cultural continuity. Hilot knowledge continued to be passed down orally and through apprenticeship, ensuring its survival across generations. This method of transmission was resilient to religious shifts, allowing Hilot to remain a cultural constant even as Islam spread. Siguro, um, ito yung napapansin ko, in bawat generation, is ang Hilot talaga ay tinuturo orally. The reason for this is para hindi mawala. No? Kasi kung ang ang karunungang Hilot ay isinulat, maaring sunugin ng mga mananakop. Actually, di ba, some of our religious texts or indigenous texts ng mga katutubo ng paniniwala ay nabura, pero yung oral tradition, hindi siya mabubura kasi nakatatak siya sa isipan at nakatatak siya sa puso. Lalo na kung araw-araw natin ginagawa ito. Ito ay naging, ang oral transmission ay isang makapangyarihang pamamaraan upang ma-retain ito. No? Ang problema ngayon is wala ng mga kabataan ang nais matuto, lalo na yung magpagiging bakit. Yan ang naririnig natin sa mga kaibigan natin. Bakit sa Ifugao na wala ng hilig or wala na silang interest na ipagpatuloy ang pagbabaki o pagre-ritual. No? Pero ito, nagpapasalamat ako dahil kasi nga meron tayo dito sa Hilot Academy Pinapelan kung ano ang katutubo, nakasanayan ng ating mga katutubo, no? Ay ating ipinagpapatuloy. Kasi kung patuloy pa rin natin na yung modern technique na ang ating susundin, it is still recognized under TASDA and under PITA. Pero ang Hilot Academy Pinapelan, ang pinagpapatuloy natin is yung traditional, kung ano ang binigay sa atin ng ating mga ninuno, no? At pinag-aaralan at sinisikap natin pag-aralan. So ituloy lang po natin ang ating presentation. So complementary role in Islamic healing. Islamic medicine often emphasizes spiritual purity, dietary laws, and prophetic healing traditions like the use of honey and black seed at saka hijama. Hilot complemented this by offering hands-on healing, especially for musculoskeletal issues, fevers, and spiritual imbalances not addressed by Islamic medicine alone. Nung muna ulit ako. So dito, talagang pasok na naman yung bone setting at saka yung definition natin sa massage therapy. No? Kasi pumasok dito yung musculoskeletal issues. In summary, Hilot was not displaced by Islamization. Instead, it adapted and continued to serve as a vital form of healthcare, especially in areas where indigenous practices remained strong. Its resilience and flexibility allowed it to coexist with Islamic belief, maintaining its role as a trusted healing tradition. So now, during the colonial times, 1521 actually to 1898. So, Hilot played a vital role in Filipino healthcare during the Spanish colonial period. Despite the introduction of Western medicine by the Spanish friars and colonial institutions, Hilot remained the primary form of healing for most Filipinos, especially in rural and indigenous communities. So mainstream indigenous healthcare, Hilot was widely practiced by Manghilot, Albularyo, and Magpapaanak, who were often the first and only healthcare providers in many communities. This practitioner used herbal medicine, massage, spiritual rituals, and intuitive diagnostics to treat physical and emotional ailments. Since the Spanish was new in the country, hindi pa sila nakapagturo ng medicine. Wala pa silang Ministry of Health dito. So ang talagang mainstream pa rin na manggagamot ay yung mga manghihilot sa probinsya. At kung meron mang modern medicine na dala ang mga Kastila, pihado ito ay limitado lang. So yung ating lahi sa panahon ng mga Kastila, mga manghihilot pa rin ang nangangalaga sa ating kalusugan. So here, even though there is already a Spanish medicine, Spanish friar introduced hospital and Western medical practices such as Hospital de San Juan de Dios, established in 1577, and smallpox vaccination in the 1800s. However, these services were mostly urban and limited to those who could afford them. In contrast, Hilot remained accessible and trusted by the masses. mahirap pala talaga pag ikaw ay presenter. Ano? Number 3, spiritual and cultural integration. Hilot was deeply rooted in Filipino cosmology and spirituality. Healing was seen as restoring balance between body, spirit, and nature. This holistic view contrasted with the more clinical approach of the Spanish medicine, but resonated with the indigenous worldview. 4. Midwifery and women's health. Many Hilot were women who served as midwives, helping with childbirth and postpartum care. Their role was essential in maintaining maternal health, especially in areas where colonial doctors were absent. So sana no maibalik sa atin yung pangangalaga, yung childbirth, pangangalaga sa women's health at yung postpartum care, no? Although some of our hilot, mga hilot in the modern time, like yung sa hip-hop, nakikita ko meron silang family hilot. Sana meron din talaga silang pangangalaga sa kababaihan. At dito rin sa atin sa Hilot Kapailan, ay meron tayong mga practices ng fertility hilot at paano din pangalagaan ang mga kababaihan, mga issues ng babae. No? So, tuloy lang po natin ang ating presentation. So, resilience and oral tradition. Hilot knowledge was passed down orally and through apprenticeship, making it resilient to colonial suppression. Even as Spanish medicine gained ground, Hilot continued to thrive as folk tradition, preserving indigenous knowledge system. So, at the time of revolution, on 1896 to 1898, Hilot remained a vital and trusted form of healthcare among Filipinos, especially in rural communities. While the revolution itself was focused on political and national liberation from Spanish colonial rule, traditional healing practices like Hilot continued to serve the everyday needs of the people, often outside the reach of colonial medical system. So since revolution to, ang mga Pilipino ay nagre-rebelde sa gobyerno ng panahon na yon, kaya ito walang nangangalaga sa kanila at hindi sila pwedeng pumunta sa sa mga hospital na itinatag ng Kastila. Kaya ito kasi ay sila isusuplong at makukulong. So sino ang nangangalaga sa kanilang kalusugan sa mga panahon iyon? So dito, community-based healthcare. Hilot was the primary form of healthcare for many Filipinos, especially in the provinces and among lower classes. Manghilot and albularyo were deeply embedded in the community, offering treatment of musculoskeletal issues, childbirth, spiritual imbalances. Their services were accessible and trusted, especially when Spanish medical services were limited and expensive. So dapat yung hilot natin is community-based healthcare. Parang katulad ma'am nung panahon na ng PCWTA, parang ang ating plinano noon is magkaroon ng community hilot center, no, or barangay hilot center. Pero naunahan tayo ng barangay health workers. So kaya sila ang ang namutawi sa mga panahon na yun. Pero ang hilot talaga is dapat para sa mga barangay, no? Pero sa panahon ngayon, imbes na sa barangay napunta ang hilot, no? Napunta siya sa spa at sa mga hotel and resort. So sana magawa natin ang paraan na sa pamagitan ng presentation nito, we make awareness to PITA, to Department of Tourism, sa Department sa TASDA, na maibalik natin sa barangay. O kung hindi man, kung ano yung practices ng hilot ay maidala din natin. Kasi ang problema din sa mga matataas na spa, no? Sa mga wellness centers, sa mga wellness property, parang limitado nga lang din ang kanilang pinakikitang hilot, kundi ang hilot nila ay massage. Andun lang din yung yung pagsasala and everything. But the whole modality of hilot was not presented totally, no, to the tourism industry. Number 2, spiritual and cultural role. Hilot was not just physical healing, it was spiritual and cultural. Many practitioners believe that their healing abilities came from the divine or ancestral sources. This spiritual aspect aligned with the broader indigenous world that persisted despite colonial religious imposition. During the revolution, this spiritual grounding may have helped sustain moral and cultural identity among Filipinos resisting Spanish rule. Next is midwifery and women's health. Traditional birth attendant, also called hilot, played a crucial role in maternal and infant care. Even during revolutionary times, childbirth and family health were managed by hilot, who were often women. Their role extended beyond medical care to include household support and spiritual protection. Next is resistance to colonial medicine. Spanish colonial medicine was often centralized in urban areas and tied to religious institutions. Many Filipinos viewed hilot as a form of resistance, a way to maintain indigenous knowledge and autonomy over their bodies. This aligned with the broader revolutionary spirit of reclaiming Filipino identity and sovereignty. And in fact, no, even at this moment, at this time, yung Hilot Academy, we considered it, parang nakikita ko yung pagtuturo natin ng Hilot sa ibang bansa as a form of resistance of decolonizing ourselves from the colonial influences. Even yung mga Filipino abroad, no, mga ipinanganak sinilang doon, they see that our teaching connect them to our root, our ancestral root dito sa ating motherland sa Pilipinas by knowing kung ano yung medicine, paano nabuhay ang mga Pilipino. And this workshop or webinar will also open up, sana, a window in the past that we could bring it forward now in the present moment. No? Lastly, transmission of knowledge, Hilot was passed down orally through apprenticeship. So paulit-ulit natin nakikita na ito ay oral tradition, making it resilient even during the times of upheaval. While formal education was limited, Hilot survived through familiar and community tradition, ensuring its continuity during and after the revolution. So ito ay Spanish colonial rule. So ito naman, nung panahon talaga ng digmaan, nakita natin si Melchora Aquino, the revolutionary hilot of the Katipunan. Although hindi siya talagang sinabing manghihilot, no? Pero yung katangian niya bilang isang manggagamot sa panahon ng Katipunero o ng revolusyon ay talagang we could honor her as a manghihilot, no? So paano? Anong evidence natin? Sabi dito, Melchora Aquino as manghilot and Katipunero nurse. Despite lacking formal education of Western medical training, Melchora Aquino, known as Tandang Sora, served as traditional healer or manghihilot during the Philippine Revolution. Her care and compassion for wounded Katipuneros reflected the indigenous healing wisdom passed down through generations. So dito, si Tandang Sora ay walang formal education. Hindi siya nakapag-aral. No? Ang naaral lang niya is mga dasal. Dahil bilang Katoliko, mga babae, ang inaaral lang nila yung mga libreta ng mga dasal. Napakabisado sa kanila mga dasal. No? So, tingnan pa natin ang mga information. So, Dr. Aquino provided medical care to Katipuneros. Multiple historical sources confirm that Tandang Sora nursed the wounded revolutionaries, gave them food, shelter, and motherly advice. Her home became a refuge for a clinic for the Katipuneros. So, what moved Tandang Sora to care for the wounded? No? So, dito, kung ang kanyang pagiging manghihilot o manggagamot ay nagmula sa kanyang puso, kanyang pagmamalasakit. Number 2. Ay, ba't walang number 2? Wala nga number 2 yata. So, Melchora Aquino, no formal education but strong indigenous knowledge. She never attended formal school, yet she was literate and deeply involved in community rituals and caregiving. Her healing work was likely based on the indigenous family system, passed down orally and through practice. It is a hallmark of Hilot tradition. Ayan, number 4. Her role reflects the spirit of Hilot Pinabaylan. As a woman who cared for the sick, supported the revolution, and offered spiritual encouragement, Tandang Sora embodied the Pinabaylan archetype, a healer, a spiritual guide, and a protector of the people. So, pumasok naman tayo sa panibagong panahon, ang Hilot during the American colonial period or indigenous health amid westernization. The United States formally took possession of the Philippines on December 10, 1898. So, malapit na ulit, no? Ang December 10. Birthday yata yun nila Kai. Through the Treaty of Paris, which ended the Spanish-American War. The American colonial period lasted from 1898 to 1946, ended with the Philippine independence on July 4, 1946. So, status of Hilot during the American period. So, continued role in rural healthcare. Despite the introduction of Western medicine and public health system by the Americans, Hilot remained the primary healthcare practice in many rural and impoverished communities. Manghihilot and albularyo continued to treat common ailments, assist in childbirth, and provide spiritual healing. And it coexists with Western medicine. The American regime established hospitals, trained nurses, and promoted scientific medicine. However, traditional healers were still widely consulted, especially where access to formal health care was limited. Health coexisted with Western medicine, often filling gap in the system. Kasi nga yung modern medicine ay experimental by that time. So talagang tulungan pa, nakikipag-integrate pa or collaborate pa ang Western medicine sa traditional medicine. Sana mangyari ulit yun ngayon. No? So number 3, marginalization and survival. Hilot was often marginalized by colonial authorities. Ayun pala, mali pala ako. So, marginalized pala tayo by colonial authorities who viewed it as unscientific. Yet, it survived through oral tradition and apprenticeship. Passed down with families and communities, the resilience helped preserve indigenous knowledge despite colonial pressure. The reason why tayo na ma-marginalize because they are creating now a standard. Ano ba ang dapat paniwalaan? Dapat yung pamamaraan natin ay kailangan nakapag-aral, pumasok sa school. At yung tinuturo sa eskwela ay kung ano ang kanilang pinapahintulutan. Ganon naman din up to present time na kung ano yung inaaral sa colleges is dapat accredited or according to the standard na pinopromote or sinang-ayunan ng Commission on Higher Education ng Department of Education at Technical Education Skills Development Authority. Even ang hilot natin sa panahon ngayon ay kailangan pumasa siya sang ayon sa kagustuhan ng PITAC or ng TESDA. Mamaya mapag-aaralan ulit natin yan, no? Makikita po natin yan dito sa ating presentation. Next is spiritual and cultural significance. Even during American rule, Hilot retained its spiritual dimension, addressing not just physical ailment, but also emotional and energetic imbalances. This holistic approach remained meaningful to Filipinos who valued ancestral wisdom and cultural identity. So, papasok na naman tayo sa bagong panahon. Ito na, panahon na ng Hapon, si Jose P. Laurel. Resilient Healing, the role of Hilot in Filipino communities, 1940 to 1945. So, may panahon lang pala siya, no? During the Japanese occupation of the Philippines, Hilot continued to play a vital role in healthcare, especially in rural communities and among resistance fighters. Yung Hukbalahap yata, pagkakaalala ko ay Hukbalahap yun. So dito, Hilot is essential in wartime condition. With hospitals destroyed, medical supplies scarce, and many doctors displaced or conscripted, Hilot became a primary source of care for civilians and guerrilla fighters. Traditional healers treat wounds, fever, and trauma using herbal medicine, massage, and indigenous techniques. So I just wonder na parang kung ito'y panahon na ng gera, marami ding nasalanta o nasira. Paano kaya ang panahon ng bagyo? Kamusta kaya ang kalusugan sa Cebu? No? So mamaya tatanungin kita, Jay, sana stay. Tatanungin natin ano ang kalagayan ng Cebu ngayon. So tuloy lang natin ang panahon ng Hapon. Magmamarko pa tayo dito ngayon. Panahon ng Hapon kasi. So, Hilot support for guerrilla resistance. No? Many guerrilla fighters relied on Manghihilot and albularyo for treatment in the mountains and forests, where formal medical care was available. Hilot practitioners helped nurse the wounded, manage infection, and provide spiritual support during a resistance effort. So, naalala ko nga, hindi ko alam kung sino nagkwento, na even yung mga panahon ngayon ng NPA, yung New People's Army, yung mga namumundok na hindi sila nakakakuha ng medical treatment sa mga ospital, ang kanilang manggagamot ay yung mga manghihilot din, no? Kaya minsan tayo mga manghihilot ay parang tinitignan din bilang NPA or rebelde or komunista. So, tuloy lang po natin. Kaya maraming napapatay dati na manghihilot daw. Kaya pinag-iingat ako na baka mapatay din ako o makulong ako kasi pagkamalang NPA tayo. So, number 3, no? Community-based healing. In villages, healers continued to assist childbirth, treat common illnesses, and offer emotional and spiritual healing. Their role was especially important as Japanese forces disrupted public health system and imposed harsh conditions on civilians. So paano kaya kung mangyayari ulit na merong dayuhan na sakupin tayo o mga Chinese, eh sirain nila yung mga health centers natin, mga hospital natin. So kailangan pa rin talaga ng maraming manghilot. So dapat pa rin tayo magturo ng hilot, ituro natin ang bawat community para kahit wala tayo sa hospital, eh mag-e-exist pa rin ang mga hilot pinapilan at patuloy pa rin natin magagamot ang mga karamdaman ng mga tao, no, in the future, just in case. So we have to be prepared pa rin. So number 4, resilience amidst oppression. Despite the brutality of occupation, including forced labor, displacement, and violence, Hilot persisted as a symbol of cultural resilience. It helped maintain Filipino identity and community solidarity during the time of national trauma. Next is Hilot at the time of liberation. After the Japanese occupation, 1942 to 1945, the Philippines entered the period of liberation, beginning with Leyte Landing. So I shall return. This is MacArthur no? On October 20, 1944, and the culminating in surrender of Japan on September 2, 1945. The Philippine Commonwealth was officially restored on October 23, 1944, and full independence granted on July 4, 1946. Ay, nasa tayo. Ay, bakit? Dito tayo. Ay, ba't ano nangyari? Hilot at the time, ito na yung binasa natin, no? So, susunod dyan, ayun. The healing wound of war. After years of brutal occupation, Hilot practitioners played as a key role in post-war recovery, helping communities to heal from physical injuries, trauma, and displacement. With hospital damage and medical supplies scarce, Manghilot and Arbolari continue to provide care using herbal remedies, massage, and spiritual healing. Parang katulad ng ano yun, yung PSTD yata yun, post-stress traumatic disorder ba yun? Yung yung galing ka sa gera, tapos babalik ka sa normal, so akala mo lagi may gera pa rin. So, dito, parang yun nga ang nakita natin sa mga treatment natin. At even yung mga estudyante natin, graduate natin, na pinabay lang ngayon, ay parang sinasabi ng epektibo ang panggagamutan ng hirap, yung pamamaraan natin ng hirap in dealing with PSTD. Tama yata yung sinasabi ko, yung post-stress traumatic disorder, something like that. So, magagamit yan, especially yung sugo. Next slide is community rebuilding. It was part of the grassroots rebuilding of Filipino society, especially in rural areas. Traditional healers help restore health and morale, offering comfort and continuity in a time of national upheaval. Next is spiritual restoration. Many Filipinos turn to Hilot not only for physical healing, but also for spiritual classic and emotional support, especially after experiencing wartime atrocities like the Bataan Datmak and the Battle of Manila. Hilot rituals help people reconnect with ancestral tradition and regain a sense of identity. So dito, hindi lang talaga karamdaman ang ginagamot ng hilot. Mahalaga din na pagtuunan natin ng pansin yung emosyon ng pasyente or ng tao. Kasi yung emotional health and mental health is part of the holistic health ng isang individual. na dapat ay tugunan din natin bilang isang mahirap, not only in the physical aspect. The number 4, resilience and cultural pride. The survival and continued practice of Philip during and after the war became a symbolic Filipino symbol of Filipino resilience. It stood as a testament to indigenous knowledge system that endured despite colonization, war, and modernization. Next slide is ito na. Actually, yung Commonwealth period, Commonwealth muna, then the Japanese occupation. The Commonwealth of the Philippines was a transitional government established under the Tiding-McDuffie Act to prepare the country for self-rule. So during the Commonwealth restoration, after World War II, Hilot remained a vital grassroots healthcare system, especially in rural areas where infrastructure was damaged and Western medical services were limited. Traditional healers continued to provide care for common illnesses, injuries, and childbirth. But yeah, so healing the post-war. No? Healing practitioners help communities recover from wartime trauma, offering not only physical healing, but also spiritual and emotional support. Their role was crucial in restoring health and morale after the devastation of Japanese occupation. As the Philippines transitioned toward independence, Hilot served as a symbol of cultural continuity, preserving indigenous knowledge and practices amid political and social change. It, patayin ko nga muna. It remained deeply embedded in the Filipino identity even as Western medicine gained prominence. So, while Hilot was not recognized formally, was not formally recognized or regulated by the Commonwealth government, it was respected and relied upon by many Filipinos. Its survival during this period laid the foundation for its continued practice in the post-independence era. I hope sana no yung respect na ito yung na binibigay sa atin ng gobyerno ay sana ang respeto ito ay may bigay pa rin ng ating gobyerno para sa atin. Pero later on, tingnan natin anong klaseng respeto ang hinihingi natin sa kanila. So ito, no? Status of Hilot from 1946 to 1972. So ito ay mga panahon na malapit na ito sa panahon ni Marcos. During the period of Philippine full independence from 1946 to 1972, the practice of Hilot experienced a significant shift in status, moving from being a widely practiced indigenous healing tradition to becoming a marginalized due to modernization, westernization, and the rise of institutional medicine. Ma'am Ning, buhay ka na ba sa mga panahon ito? Hindi pa. Malapit na akong mabuhay dahil kasi 1978 ako. So tuloy lang natin. So sabi dito, Hilot as a folk practice, it remained alive in rural communities, passed down through oral tradition and apprenticeship. It was practiced by Manghilot, Albulario, and Herbolario, who were often respected in their barangays, but not formally recognized by the state. So Hilot was used for bone setting and massage, prenatal and postnatal care, herbal medicine, spiritual healing, such as tawas, orasan, and pagpapagamot. Next, the rise of Western medicine. The Department of Health and Western trained doctors became the dominant healthcare providers. Hospitals and clinics were built especially in urban areas, promoting biomedical approaches. Traditional healers were often labeled as quack or unscientific, leading to decline in their social status and influence. And up to now, no, siguro from this time or 1972, from those period, dun talaga bumaba ang tingin sa atin bilang isang manghihilot, no? At dahil doon, lack of institutional support, there were no formal educations or certification for healing practitioners. The government did not yet recognize healing as a legitimate health profession. This lack of support led to underground or informal practice, especially in urbanizing areas. Pero malaking pasalamat natin dahil mayroong TESDA at mayroon ding PTAC na kung saan ay kinikilala ang ating practice. So tuloy lang natin. Persistent in indigenous and rural communities. Despite marginalization, Hilot survived through cultural resilience, especially among indigenous people and rural folk. It remained deeply tied to spiritual beliefs, ancestral traditions, and community-based healing. So during the martial law period in the Philippines, under the President Ferdinand Marcos Sr., the traditional healing practice of healing managed to survive, but it did so largely underground and within rural and indigenous communities, facing both marginalization and resilience. While there is limited direct documentation on Hilot during this specific period, we can understand its survival through broader historical and cultural context. So the marginalization under authoritarian modernization, the Marcos regime emphasized modernization and Western style development, which prioritized biomedicine and institutional healthcare. Traditional healers were like Manghilot and Albularyo were often excluded from formal health system and labeled as quack doctors. The government focus on centralizing control and promoting a new society meant that indigenous and folk practices were sidelined in favor of Western medical models. Survival through cultural resilience. Despite state suppression and lack of formal recognition, Hilot persisted in rural and indigenous communities where access to hospital and doctors was limited. In this area, trust in traditional healers remained strong, and heal continued to be practiced for prenatal care, massage therapy, bone setting, and spiritual healing. The oral tradition apprenticeship system helped pass down knowledge from elders to younger generation, ensuring continuity. Hilit was not just a medical practice, it was deeply tied to Filipino spirituality, community life, and indigenous identity. During martial law, when many aspects of Filipino culture were suppressed or co-opted by the regime, folk healing became a quiet form of cultural resistance, preserving pre-colonial and community-based knowledge systems. Unlike political activists, traditional healers were not seen as a direct threat to the regime, so they were not systematically targeted unless they were involved in political movements. This relative invisibility may have helped Hilot practitioners avoid persecution, allowing them to continue their work discreetly. Now, yung Hilot under the regulation, the impact of Presidential Decree number 856. Actually, ito yung about Sanitation Code of the Philippines. Pero within the Sanitation Code of the Philippines, on Chapter 13, there is a section that calls Massage Clinic and Sauna Bath Establishment. No? Ano ang meron dito? Paano tayo naapektuhan dito? The Sanitation Code of the Philippine, officially known as Presidential Decree number 856, was assigned into law by President Ferdinand Adrian Marcos on December 23, 1975. This decree aimed to consolidate and modernize the country's sanitation law to protect public health. One of its key components was the regulation of massage clinic and related practices, which had a direct impact on the traditional healing methods like Hilot. So, how Hilot is being affected by this decree? So, the challenges and restriction, marginalization, Hilot being a traditional and often informal practice, was not initially included in the formal definition of massage or therapeutic services under the sanitation code. Kasi nga, hindi naman kasi massage ang hilot. Ang legal risk, many manghihilot lack formal certification or training recognized by the Department of Health, making them vulnerable to being labeled as unlicensed or illegal practitioners. Narinig ko rin yan na nagkaroon ng issue during the one of the Hilot Congress na gumagawa sila ng paraan para sa mga hilot fly-by-night. And I don't know kamusta na po ang nangyari na yan kasi ang certification ng PITA ay hindi pa rin nila ma-push. Kaya marami pa rin fly-by-night, no? Fly-by-night practitioners. So urban crackdown. In cities, health practitioners face stricter enforcement, leading some to go underground or operate informally to avoid penalties. Okay. So adaptation and survival, rural continuity in rural and indigenous communities. Hilot continued to thrive due to limited access to biomedical services as strong cultural ties, cultural resistance, the spiritual and ancestral significance of Hilot helped maintain its relevance despite legal and institutional pressures. Balik na ako sa rural continuity, no? In rural and indigenous community, Hilot continued to thrive due to limited access to biomedical services as strong cultural ties. Yung experience ko dito sa San Jose del Monte, sa Barangay Francisco Masnara, meron tayong barangay health center. Kaya nga lang, meron pa rin mga tao na ayaw pumunta sa barangay health center at ang gusto nila ay hilot. Bakit? Para sa akin, kung ako naman tatanungin, kasi binibigay ko ng libre sa kanila at parang meron pa rin taong hiyang sa gawain ng hilot, sa pagtatapal ng tao ng saging, sa pagsasala, sa pagpapahid ng langis, sa paghahagot, para kumbaga, magkaroon ng recovery o nauli natin yung kaginhawaan ng isang tao. Tuloy lang natin cultural resilience, the spiritual and ancestral significance of Hilot help maintain its relevance despite legal and institutional pressures. Letter recognition, the challenges posed by Presidential Decree 856 eventually contributed to the advocacy for the recognition of traditional and alternative medicine, culminating in the Traditional and Alternative Medicine Act of 1997, which formally acknowledged Hilot as a legitimate healing modality. So malaking pasalamat natin dito sa TAMA Act, no? May tama ka dito sa Republic Act 8423. So tingnan natin, ito na yan, no? Hilot gained formal recognition in the Philippines primarily through the passage of Traditional Alternative Medicine Act of 1997, also known as TAMA Law. This law marked a turning point in the legitimization and institutional support for traditional practices, including Hilot. Kaya nga lang talaga nga bang may support ang Hilot? Wala sa TAMA Act na ito. Tingnan natin. Key milestone. In pre-1997, marginalized but practice, Hilot was widely practiced in rural and indigenous communities, but was not legally recognized. It was often dismissed as quackery by the biomedical establishment. Even up to now, some of medical or biomedical professional think of Hilot as a quackery. No? Mga quack doctors na tayo. Practitioners operate formally without license or state support. Eh hanggang ngayon, ganun pa rin naman eh. Wala namang suporta. Ano kayang klase suporta? Yung certificate? Meron din ba tayong later on, maghintay po tayo, no? So, in 1992, DOH Traditional Medicine Program, under the Health Secretary Juan Flavier, the Department of Health launched a traditional medicine program to explore and promote indigenous healing systems. This laid the groundwork for the future legislation. So in 1997, enactment of Traditional Alternative Medicine Act Law, or RA, Republic Act 8423, signed by the President Fidel Valdez Ramos, recognized traditional alternative healthcare as part of national health system, created the Philippine Institute of Traditional and Alternative Healthcare, mandated the promotion, regulation, and research of traditional practices like Hilot, encouraged and development of training program standards for practitioners. Although nang isagawa na ang mga bagay na ito, yun lang, kulang pa rin ang pagtutuon ng pansin ng PITAC sa mga kasanayang isinasagawa ng Hilot. No? At ito yung ating maaari nating itulog sa PITAC na talagang pagtuunan nila ng pansin ang pagsasagawa ng Hilot, lalo na yung spiritual practices. Kasi kung hindi nila aaralin, talagang patuloy nilang tataliktad. Eh paano naman tayo bilang Hilot Binabaylan, nais natin i-integrate din ang ating services sa National Healthcare Delivery System. Tulad nga ng encouragement sa atin ni Attorney Almeni, how could you integrate it into the healthcare, di ba? Healthcare delivery system. Pero kung hindi nila mapagbibigyan, hindi nila pagtutunan ng pansin ng pag-aaral, o bigyang dinig yung pag-aaral na ating sinasagawa o pagtuturo na ating sinasagawa, ay hindi talaga magkakaroon ng integration. So dapat ay magkaroon tayo ng give and take. Pero tingnan natin, we are not demanding as of now. Nagsasabi lang po tayo ng opinion at sa loopin. Pero pagpatuloy natin ang ating pag-aaral, konti na lang. The role of PTAC. PTAC became a lead agency in developing standards, training, and accreditation for health practitioners. It helped differentiate health from spa massage, emphasizing its therapeutic and cultural dimension. So from the ancient past, na oral tradition, ngayon nagkaroon na ng training standard and accreditation ang mga manghihilot. No, talagang binabago na ang sistema, nababago na ang sistema. Pero tingnan natin kung ito ba nakakabuti, maaaring makakasama. So, aside from PTAC, nagkaroon din ng Task the Board Resolution. Ito yung dahilan kung bakit nagkaroon ng Hilot Wellness Massage NC2. Ito ay sa pamumuno ng yung Alan. So, ito yung nakita. So, parang ang nakita natin is parang, yun nga ba ang sinasabi ko, nakita. No, parang dito yung naging dahilan dahil sa request ni Boy Fajardo ng SPA Association at saka yung Healthcare Development Council. Kaya nabuo ang Task the Board Resolution or yung training regulation ng Hilot Wellness NC2. So according dito, the implementation of Task the Board Resolution number 2008-19, which approved the promulgated the training regulation for Hilot Wellness Massage NC2 was a major milestone in the formalization and flourishing of Hilot as a recognized vocational skills in the Philippines. So board resolution lang pala ito ng TESDA. So kung nais nating baguhin yung Hilot Wellness Massage NC2 para mapa-upgrade pa natin yung level ng mga hilot sa ating bansa, eh kailangan din ng board resolution. So pagkakaroon lang ng board resolution, kung magkakaroon tayo ng interaction sa kanila, no, ilalabi natin sa kanila ang pagbabago na nais nating mangyari para sa TESDA. So the standardization of skill, TESDA created a structured curriculum with basic, common, and core competencies, including planning a Hilot Wellness program, pre-service and post-service care, application of Hilot massage technique, and infection control and first aid. No? Although sa training regulation, mas marami pa. Parang ma-highlight lang to. Formal training and assessment. Hilot practitioners could now enroll in accredited training centers, complete a 120-hour course, and undergo a national competency assessment to earn an NC2 certificate. This gave Hilot practitioner professional credibility and employment opportunities in wellness centers, spa, and even abroad, which is tunay naman na pag ikaw ay TESDA graduate at may NC2 ka, ay maaari ka makapag-abroad. So the legal institutional recognition, TESDA certification helped legitimize Hilot as a vocational profession, protecting practitioners from being labeled as quack doctors. It aligned Hilot with the National Skills Development Framework, which is Republic Act 7796 or TESDA Act of 1994. So dahil sa TESDA, natanggal na yung label natin as being quack doctors. Naging professional tayo, naging nationally certified tayo, kumbaga accredited Hilot practitioners through TESDA, NC2. So the integration into the wellness and tourism industry. With the rise of medical and wellness tourism, certified Hilot practitioners became part of hospitality and health sectors, contributing to local economies. TESDA certification opened international job opportunities, especially in spa, cruise ship, and wellness sector. Alam na alam nito ni Ma'am Arlene, no, ni Ma'am Ning, dahil magkasama tayo sa TESDA noong unang panahon at ang dami nating napag-graduate dahil dito. No? Community empowerment. TESDA programs were implemented in partnership with LGUs and NGOs, offering free or subsidized training to marginalized groups with like PWD, solo parents, and OFW. So this help uplift communities by turning Hilot into a livelihood skills. Naalala ko talaga, yung mga graduates natin, tinitipan natin, hinahanapan natin silang pwesto, at nagkakaroon sila ng barangay wellness spa. No? Si Ma'am Erlyn, I think, nagkaroon tayo ng spa sa Krame, nagkaroon din tayo ng spa sa tapat ng Krame, Camp Aguinaldo, at saka sa Fort Bonifacio din. Let me continue. Whereas in the revised implementing rules and regulation of Republic Act 8423, Rule 6 sections 2 that says the the institute in close coordination with Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, DepEd, CHED, Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, and others shall formulate guidelines, rules, and regulations for the development of learning, training materials for short courses, as well as for graduate and postgraduate courses. It shall develop human resource development program for medical and non-medical professionals with appropriate public and private institutions, particularly academic centers of excellence. So dito, implementing rules and regulations siya ng PTAC or ng TESDA or ng RA 2423, 8423. Meron na tayong short course. Yun nga yung 120 hours or 15 days ng TESDA. Pero sa PITA, parang ganun din ang nangyari, no? Short course pa rin. Ang hinahanap natin sana sa PITA, ibigay na ang short courses sa TESDA at magtuon tayo ang PITA na mag-develop ng curriculum para sa graduate and postgraduate course. So anong ibig sabihin nun? Tingnan po natin ang mas sumunod na slide. So ito, multi-agency collaboration. PITAC, the institute, is mandated to work closely with national education and research body, including TESDA, for technical vocational education and skills training, DepEd for basic education integration, CHED for higher education, college graduates and postgraduate level, PCHRD for health research and development. So sana yung kasi meron ng TESDA, di ba? 15 days course. Sana magkaroon din ng mga small subject na ibibigay natin sa high school. So alam ko ang TESDA tayo noon, yung K-12 program, is maaaring ma-integrate natin yung curriculum ng hilot ng TESDA sa DepEd, sa high school. Kaya nga merong mga ALS teachers nag-aaral din ng TESDA para ma-integrate nila sa basic education. Ngayon, ang kulang na lang natin ay yung for higher education. Ibig sabihin, magkaroon sana tayo ng degree, na bachelor's degree in science on either science or art or kung saan ba. Kasi indigenous science ang hilot, dapat bachelor's of science in traditional alternative medicine, no? Or hilot, ay makagawa, no? Makagawa sa PITA. So tingnan pa natin ang ating ano. So development of educational program. PITAC is empowered to create and standardize educational materials for short course, no? That is community-based hilot training and wellness program. And then here, magkaroon ng graduate and postgraduate courses, which is bachelor's degree, master's degree, and doctorate program in hilot or traditional medicine. Ito yung ninanais natin na magkaroon. Kung ikaw ay isa-certified lang, magpa-TESDA ka. Pero kung ikaw ay magkakaroon ng license, di ba, PRC ka. Pero ang gumagawa ng curriculum ay si PITA. So ito yung ihihiling natin at itutulog natin sa PITA na imbis na laging problema ay certification, nag-issue ng certificate of recognition na hanggang ngayon ay hindi pa rin matuloy-tuloy or hindi pa rin umuusad. Up to now, it's 26 to 27 pa rin ang recognized sa PITA. No? I think tutulong ako sa kanila. Bilang tumulong sa kanila para ma-push natin ang accreditation. So dito, yung Human Resource Development o HRD, PITAC must also develop training programs for both medical professionals and non-medical professionals. Nagawa kasi nila ito sa acupuncture. So dapat din, maisulong din ng PITAC na pati yung karunungang hilot ay maibahagi din sa mga doktor, sa mga medical professional and non-medical professional. This program are to be implemented in partnership with academic centers of excellence, which could include universities, seminaries, or specialist training institutions like us, Hilot Academy of Pinabaylan. So, application for Hilot practice and education, malapit na po tayo matapos. This provision legally supports the creation of TESDA accredited Hilot courses and child recognized degree program in Hilot and indigenous medicine. It also opened doors for institutions like Templong Alituhan and Bahay sa Atala, Binabaylan to collaborate with PITAC, CHED, and TESDA in offering formalized, culturally grounded Hilot education. In summary, this comprehensive presentation traces the evolution of Hilot. So malapit na po tayo magtapos. The indigenous Filipino healing tradition across various historical periods from prehistoric times to the modern era. Key highlights include ancient origins, role of Babaylan, bibilisan ko lang, no? And etc. etc. Survival through historical eras, modern recognition, and educational integration. So as a closing note, health is more than a healing technique. It is a living embodiment of Filipino ancestral wisdom, spiritual resilience, and cultural identity. Its journey through time that reflects the strength of indigenous knowledge systems that have endured colonization, modernization, and marginalization. Today, health stands not only as a therapeutic practice, but also as a symbol of cultural continuity and empowerment. So as a call of action, let us honor and preserve this sacred tradition by supporting formal education and training in Hilot through institutions like Templong Amtan, Hilot Academy of Pinabaylan, also for Hilot Hub and other accredited training centers, advocating for wider recognition for Hilot in healthcare, wellness, and tourism sector, encouraging research and documentation to deepen understanding and ensure its transmission to future generations, integrating Hilot into community health care program, especially in underserved and indigenous areas. And together, may we continue to heal, educate, and empower through the wisdom of Hilot. So this is all. Maraming salamat. I will stop presentation na. Ayun, ayan na. So, kamusta? Any feedback from any one of you? Je, Ma'am Ning, kamusta po? Ito ng pagkakataon. At least, mapalad po tayo at nandito po tayo. Ayan. Any questions? Meron po bang katanungan? Ayan. So, kung wala, ayan, Ma'am Ning, kamusta? Nakita kita.
Mabuti po. Wala naman katanungan kasi maliwanag naman pagpaano mo. Presentation mo, Sir Arman.
Ayan. Nasaan ka naman? Ba't ayaw mo pakita? Namimiss kita.
Andito ako sa, may inaalagaan ako, may kasamahan ko sa church, nakiusap na samahan ko siya. Hirap lumakad eh.
Sige ma'am.
Andito sa Paranaque.
Nasa Bicol ka ba? Saan ka?
Paranaque.
Ay, ang layo mo naman. Akala ko nasa Bicol ka. But
anyway, wala pa. Sasalubungin ko Baguio.
Akala ko nga darating si Ma'am Grace, pero papadalan ko na lang din si Ma'am Grace ng kopyang ito. So, maraming salamat Ma'am Ning.
Pero yung sinasabi mo, kasi 2012 pa kami first Hilot Congress, nagkita-kita ang mga manghihilot. Kaya lang, nung panahon na yun, nakalata ng mga manghihilot, ay magpapakita ng galing. Kaya nag-anoan sila doon, ang tawag doon, tigalpuan sila nun sa Antipolo.
yung kaya nagkaroon ng Antipolo Declaration.
Yun. Andun ako. Kami lang tatlo lang kaming grupo na recognize ng Hilot, Alyansa ng mga Hilot Albularyo, sila Sir Boy, saka yung nasirang Noni Del Mundo.
Si Mang Boy, si Noni,
kasi KFN, mga yumao na rin sila kasama ni Dr.
Meron ka bang picture ni Mang Boy at saka ni
Meron kami, hanapin ko, magkakasama kami kasi kami yung technical working group ng PITAC, yan gumawa ng IRR.
Okay. So, yun nga, dapat nga is parang gagawa pa tayo ng spiritual temple or parang dambana or altar para sa kanila in remembrance.
Kasi nga, hinahanap ko yung post mo, hindi ko na mahukay sa lalim eh.
Ang dami nga hindi ko na rin makita eh. Pero pero hanapin ko, gagawa pa rin ako ng parang recognition kay
Sir Arman
Okay?
Yung sa TESDA natin, ika-cluster po yan para magkaroon ng diploma. Halimbawa, nag-aral kang Hilot, mag-aaral ka rin ng caregiver, saka tawag dito, barangay health worker. Kasi yan, mga graduate natin ng Hilot, kailangan susunod na dyan, magpapa-recognize sila sa PITAC.
Yun nga, sana mapadali. Ang balita ko, mukhang pinapadali ngayon ng PITAC ang recognition. Kaya nga lang, yun nga, dahil kasi ang tagal ko nang sinisita kay PITAC to, 5 years
Dalian nila.
na. Pero, di ba, nandun pa yata ano pa to, si Ansha, that time.
Wala po. Ang natitira na lang ay si
Jonathan.
Doc Mita. Sa mga sa
Oh, siya. Kasi
assessor.
ang nakita ko pa rin sa signatory, 5 sila. Nadagdag lang andun pa si Jonathan. Ang nadagdag lang
Nadagdag siya. Hindi naman siya gumawa hindi siya kasama sa PNR namin eh.
Hindi nga siya. Pero ang nadagdag si Dr. Yung pala sa dati namin sa HPDC.
Sabi ko nga, bakit doktor ang mga board ng ng himangihilot? NCC, National Certification Committee, mga doktor.
Hindi, kasama, talagang automatic kasi ang pinaregistered ng organization siya, according sa IIR ng PITA is kailangan mayroong kasamang organization. Siya lang yung nag-iisang organization na Hilot Society. So, automatic, nakasama siya. Kaya nga lang, hindi ko natatanong kung bakit pa. But anyway, so dapat kasama talaga siya at kumilos at magpabago. Pero yun nga, ang i-encourage ko, siguro after this meeting, maglalaan ako ng oras, kakausapin ko ang PITA, i-encourage ko sila na yung bachelor's degree course naman. Kung hindi nila magawa, kakausapin ko ang TESDA. Pero kasi TESDA, on short course talaga siya eh. Or
ang inuna nila, sir, ang inuna nila naturopathy. Nasa PUP. Ang tuition, 150,000.
Siyempre, dinala ni pangalan nun, si Dr.
Pabiona.
Pabiona. Pero mukhang mabait naman kasi itong bagong DG natin. So, paglalaan ko ng
panahon. Yan, sir, Bicolana raw yan eh. Taga-Catanduan.
Oo nga. Pero din, Christian din siya. Pero madalas siya nagkita na kami sa Mega Mall. Ay, hindi. MOA yata, SM MOA.
Nagkita kami, hindi lang kami nagkausap kasi hindi ko siya kilala noon.
Nagkausap kami, pero saglit lang. Saglit lang. Alam mo naman ako, esnabero ako.
Ako rin. Sa radyo lang ako kumakaway.
Ano ba? Tayo ang founder hindi naman founder, pero tayo nagsimula ng Hilot eh.
Oo.
Nung wala pa naman sila.
Tayo lang gulong kaya nakilala naging certify yan. Tayo talaga nag-umpisa niyan.
Kaya nga, wala nagbuwag-buwag tayo eh.
Ang problema kasi, yung sinasabi mong hindi, mga care worker tayo ha. Pero, katulad ng example, care worker ka, barangay health worker ka, nasa gobyerno yan. Dapat yung barangay health worker, recognize yan ng DOLE.
Yun nga, pero ang dapat
sir, walang fixed salary. Walang fixed salary ang care worker. Paano mo maano yun? Volunteerism kasi. Kaya paano mo maaayos ang tayong mga care worker? Sa pagpasahod pa lang, wala na.
Yun yung hinahanapan natin na para maging empleyado tayo. Kasi pagka ganyan, dapat nga mag-take tayo ng civil service. Ayan din, siguro isang attention is to call the Civil Service Commission. Paano na magkakaroon tayo ng salary grade, pumasok sa salary grade. Kasi nga, volunteerism nga yan. Bakit porke pa tayo nagkaroon ba yung barangay health worker? Merong kurso sa TESDA. Tapos, ang sahod is parang, hindi siya incentive or parang wala siyang regular salary. So, yun din naman ang sigaw natin sa manghihilot natin.
Ang isa pang kinaano ko dyan, wala tayong data ng mga manghihilot sa buong Pilipinas. Kasi panay ang nila, pa-survey, yung kilala lang nila, kinakausap nila. Kasi pag nag-meeting sila, mga national, sabihin mong national, sinong iniimbita nila? Yun mga kilala lang, may pangalan. Nag-imbita ba sila ng tabing ilog, taga-bundok, sa tabing dagat? Wala silang iniimbitang manghihilot na gano'n, magagaling.
Anong agency yan, ma'am? TESDA o PITAC?
DOH PITAC.
Yun nga. Yun din. Isang encouragement sa PITAC. Kung tulad ng DOH, meron siyang national, di ba? Meron siyang provincial, meron siyang municipal, ibaba sa barangay para magkaroon din ng ganong office na magkaroon ng record ng manghihilot. Kaya hirap sila magkaroon ng recognition kasi wala silang agency, kamay, na kikilos. Sino ba talaga manghilot dyan? Kasi kung halimbawa, kunyari ako manghilot dito, magpaparecognize ako sa barangay ko. So,
Oo.
automatically, ang magre-report sa barangay, sa city health office or sa
Oo.
municipal health office, uy, na may manghilot tayo. Di ba ang ginawa sa Siquijor? Sa Siquijor at sa
Oo.
Quezon, mayroon silang listahan kung sino ang mga healers, local
Isa
healers.
pang ano yan, may ano dyan, may ano dyan sa loob na porke kumikita yung manghihilot, ayaw nilang i-recognize kasi negosyo raw eh. Ikaw ba naman, tanggalan ka ng energy pang gagamot mo para bulong ka. Siyempre maniningil ka.
Para bulong din ang tawag yan sa Bicol, no? Tama?
Opo, para
Ay,
bulong.
yun din tawag sa Maranao, para bulong din yata.
Itong namamayagpag, itong may grupo ng Wellness Pilipinas, sponsored to ni Senator Marcoleta. Panay ang medical mission nila.
Pwede bang lapitan niya si Marcoleta?
Iglesia yan, iglesia ka ba?
Ay, hindi.
Isa pa, yung isang grupo ng party list yung help na leader si Dr. Bitangkol ng St. Peter. Maganda yung programa nila. May nakilala akong grupo ng People's Initiative. Ang sabi niya sa akin, isinusulong nila na yung mga pupunta sa barangay na may mga sakit, papipiliin na lang na kailangan may clinic ang mga manghihilot at yung mga Western. Bahala na yung mga Pilipino kung saan sila pupunta. Kung sa manghihilot ba o sa doktor.
Yan yung sinasabi natin.
May iniwan na yung number nila. Telephone number.
Din nga dapat yun yung sinasabi ko, din tinuturo ko din sa academy na
2009 pa natin balak yan. Sa barangay.
Ano ma'am?
Nung 2009 pa natin balak yan sa barangay ng mga center. Ano na ngayon?
Yan yung
25 na. Isang kembot na lang, 26 na.
Konti na nga lang. Wala. Talagang every November lang tayo nagkakaroon ng gathering ganito. Busy tayo sa buong taon, pero at least...
may bayad yung pitak, 6,000 ayaw kong pumunta.
Alin yun? Ay, yung
Takmat ngayon November.
Dapat meron. Hindi sila nag-hilot congress ngayon, di ba?
Walang hilot congress kasi ang kami nila Doc Sid yan, sa kasi NSA naggawa niyan, yung grupo.
Hindi na nila
Pilipino, una namin nilaunch yan sa Davao, 2018. Pangalawa sa Cagayan, sa Mindanao.
2018, kasama nyo nga doon, di ba, sa mga rito? Tindahan yung mga babaylan.
Wala na si Doc Boy.
Oo, yun.
After yung pelikula yung Sacred and Profane, yung tungkol sa Banahaw, na siya nun namatay na siya. Tapos si Pons Abirin, si Dr. Pons Abirin. Kaya ang natitira na lang si Doc Mita ng Hilot Pinoy.
Hilot Pinoy ba? Siya ba ang may-ari o si pangalan nun si Noni Del Mundo?
Sila magkakasama sa kasi Pons Abirin.
Kaya pala yun pala ang partner ni Noni Del Mundo, si Doc Mita. Di ba siya naging DOH secretary, Carmen Sintayap?
Hindi po.
Pero kasi parang meron ako naalala, Dr. Carmen Sita, Riotica, Yap.
Hindi po yan.
Tapos nagpo-promote din siya ng traditional medicine.
Oo. Ayun, may ano pa rin siya dyan sa may Panay Avenue. May yung bahay nila. Yun po ang ngayon, pag maayos na, kasi yun nag-sponsor ko, sangkot sa dyan sa inyo sa Bulacan, mga taga Bulacan kasi.
Alan, flood control?
Oo.
Ay, nakuha ko.
Nag-sponsor sa akin.
Pa-sponsor din naman ako. Just kidding.
Kaya lang flood control. Akala ko na, kasi naghihingi sa akin ng city jail. Hindi mga bulag, tuturuan ng hilot. May ibang naman. May ibang level na naman akong binabalak na turuan Dapat, yun.
Yan. Ay, paano, Mami? Maraming salamat tay. Ako yung
Sige, sige. Salamat po.
i-off ko na to.
Pasensya na kayo sa mga kasama natin na nakikinig. Ngayon lang kami
Oo nga.
nagkakausap ni Sir Arman.
Pasensya na yan. Okay. Sige,
Oo.
maraming salamat. Bye-bye. Jay, maraming
Bye-bye.
salamat. See you very, very soon. Close ko muna tong recording.
Okay, sa
And
basta.
maraming salamat. Bye-bye.